And now we're joined by Survivor Support Network leaders Nemo Lopez, James Trenton, and Vera to discuss Survivor Support Network and other resources on campus. So I want to ask you all, first and foremost, what is the main aim of Survivor Support Network?
Well, Survivor Support Network is actually a nonprofit organization. So we're the first chapter here on campus, the first chapter to exist. And essentially, we're an organization of students, student-led organization that creates safe spaces for students who experience trauma and also advocates for them in any way they need.
Awesome. And what kind of programming do you all provide, and how are the club meetings kind of structured?
Well, we actually have bi-weekly meetings, so we have trauma experience-centered meetings on Mondays at 6 o'clock in Loyola 400, which is also the Weisemer Center. And then on Wednesdays, we have our general meetings, also at 6 o'clock in OMA Lounge 390. And those are just for everyone, like allies can come, everyone's welcome.
Awesome. And so speaking kind of allies, what do you think are some tips that people can, take away from this video and kind of, apply to their life to be better allies? Like, how can someone who hasn't experienced that type of trauma help?
So I think two important things to be mindful of when you're talking about how to be an ally. The first would be active listening, and the second would be mindfulness. So we're all trained in different things in SSN, and I'm trained in active listening specifically. And it's a lot about being present in the moment with someone. These are difficult conversations and can really be uncomfortable, especially for someone that hasn't been through that or doesn't know how to talk about it. But being present in the moment and being there for your friend, even if you don't have the answers, is a really important step and part of the process. And not claiming someone else's story, just being able to be there for them, listen to them, talk to them if they need it, but asking them for what they need and trying to provide that for them.
Wow. And so you all are trained in various things. Mm-hmm. So what are you, Nemo and James Trenton?
I actually have two group counseling certificates, one for persons with HIV and AIDS, and then another one for suicidal youth. So I'm trained to help facilitate group meetings, is why I'm in charge of the bi-weekly meetings. So if you come, you'll see me.
Awesome. And you?
So I actually have attended some trainings as far as trauma-informed yoga, and we are looking into getting other training involved as well, so we can actually do some peer training as well.
Awesome. So do you all go out and get certified by what type of organizations?
So I have a lot of training done through YMCA, but we've all had different organization training. And I've also done Crisis Text Line, which is a texting-based hotline for people that don't have the means to call or don't want to necessarily. And so that's a lot of that's a lot of crisis training. So being able to respond in the moment of crisis and supply resources for people. But I think all of us are currently looking into right now being able to train getting certification to train other people, and then also being trained under the same organization. But right now it's very separate organizations.
Wow. So do you kind of curate your programming around your skill sets currently?
I'd say so, yeah.
And do you have any big events coming up? Because I know that SSN has done kind of, these big panels in the past to kind of provide that space for people. Is there anything in the works?
Currently, we're just trying to facilitate community, because one of the most important aspects of survivorship is just community, because it's really important for everyone to have that space and other people to support them. The event we're having this Wednesday actually is our listening party, so it's just going to be very chill. We're going to be listening to whatever music you feel empowers you, and then we just talk about it for a couple minutes and move on to the next song. We're also going to have another listening party 2 weeks from this Wednesday.
Wonderful.
And then we're also working on the Healing Trauma Collective currently, which is basically a coalition of different organizations on campus that are administration level and also student-led level. So, I think one of the major problems that we have on campus concerning sexual assault is this barrier between administration and student experiences, and we need to be able to break that barrier. And so this coalition will be comprised of both groups in order to have open conversations, in order to address sexual assault misconduct policy, and then also hopefully establishing, which is something that SSN has been trying to work on for a year now, establishing a trauma center for students. So that's a big one.
What does that look like, a trauma center?
It definitely would be peer counseling, and it definitely would be able to essentially what CAPS does, where you have emergency hours and then also scheduled hours, but then a safe space for people, like their own room, in order for them to take the time that they need. And we do a lot of accompaniments now, but you would be able to schedule accompaniments a lot easier. We do have a hotline in place right now as well, but you'd be able to reach that hotline at an office phone or a setup where we have a space in order to answer those calls. And I think a lot of what it would be involved is all of these resources coming together. Right now, the Gender Justice Center, which is an amazing resource on campus, currently is working with us in order to hold trauma hours, but we definitely are still advocating to have a trauma center, to have that space.
Wonderful. And just for the viewers at home that don't know, what are accompaniments? Accompaniments?
Yeah.
What is that exactly?
So that looks like if you have meetings with teachers, or if you need to go to doctors and you ever feel like you want support or someone to be there with you and make sure your rights are being respected.
Gotcha.
As well as making sure people aren't, along those lines, disrespecting you or asking questions that they don't really need to know. And making sure that you are still able to have control over your own story and your own experience in that sense, especially after certain senses of control have been taken from you. I think it's very important to have someone else there saying, yeah, you deserve to have your rights respected.
And does SSN provide that for survivors currently, the accompaniments? And how would someone go about seeking that out if they were interested?
Yeah, so there are a few modes. They can message us through Facebook. Our Facebook page is SU Student Support Network. We actually changed our name recently to Student Support Network to try and make it more inclusive. Some people are not as comfortable with the survivor title, and so we wanted to make it a space that's really welcome for everyone, especially with trauma experiences. And they can contact us through Facebook, via Messenger, and then there's also our email, which is ssnseattlesu@gmail.com. And then there is also our hotline numbers.
Yes. So one of our numbers is 925-391-0554. And our other number is 503-832-7426.
Is there a difference between the numbers?
No,
No,
you
they
would
go to the same
contact
line?
either of us,
Yeah.
or
Okay.
any of us, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And what would you say to a student who, may be a little bit scared to come to a first meeting?
I think one thing is, you're never asked to disclose anything you're uncomfortable with. We're here for you, to serve you. We do the trainings that we have and advocate for you, for the students here. And so anything that you need, please feel free to ask for. That's what we're here for.
So I just want to say thank you for all the great work that you all do. I know that this type of support really helps people, especially after something like that happens. And I do want to, kind of move the conversation into what can people do in their everyday life to kind of prevent this from being an issue? Because I know you all work a lot with, post-trauma. So what would you say are some things that everyone can do to stop the trauma period? If you have any.
I think educating yourself is a really important step. I definitely think that, you know, a lot of people, their first experience is either experiencing the trauma themselves or having a friend of theirs experience the trauma, and them coming to them. And I think preparing yourself for understanding that, you know, universities are one of the central places where sexual assault happens. And so if you're going to attend a university, being knowledgeable about what sexual assault is, what consent looks like, that it's not just cookie cutter, that it's a very wide range of things. Being able to educate yourself is very important.
Awesome. I just want to say thank you again for coming on the show.